Hello and welcome to Third Eye TV Africa. My name is Joy Malik. The headlines: 1,000 experts, partners hold talks in Borno over Lake Chad stability. Probe begins as gunmen adopt Abuja family of 4. Kaduna State Governor Uba Sani defends negotiation with bandits. Now let's go on a quick break, and when we return, the news in details continue.
For deeper analysis on security situation in Nigeria and beyond, watch.
Welcome back. Now the news in detail. About 1,000 participants have converged in Maiduguri, the Borno state capital, to draw strategies for the stability of the Lake Chad Basin region. Now the participants include governors from the Lake Chad Basin region, international development partners, experts, academia, and top traditional rulers. Secretary to the government of Yobe State, Baba Wali, while announcing this at a press conference in Maiduguri, said his state is committed to hosting the 5th edition of the Lake Chad Governors Forum in Borno. Wali, who is also the chairman of the local organizing committee, explained that participants at the forum will address pressing challenges in the Lake Chad region and explore opportunities for recovery and resilience for millions of people affected by prolonged insurgency and environmental crisis. He said the forum, which starts on January 28, is expected to develop strategies for the promotion of durable solutions for displaced populations and enhancement of the social and economic. Experts and traditional rulers from the member nations have arrived in Maiduguri for the forum. And on insecurity, the Federal Capital Territory Police Command says it has commenced a comprehensive search and rescue operation aimed at securing the safe recovery of 3 family members and others allegedly abducted by gunmen on Monday in the Chikakuri area of Kubwa. Gunmen suspected to be kidnappers were reported to have abducted a man, his wife, son, and 2 others in the Chikakuri Community Buhari Area Council of the FCT. Reacting to the incident, the FCT Police Command spokesperson Superintendent Josephine Ade said upon receiving a distress call regarding the case, the command swiftly deployed its operatives to the scene. She said investigations revealed that 7 unknown men disguised as vigilante members and armed with knives and sticks attacked the residents of the victims. And in Edo State, the Edo State Commissioner of Police, Betsy, has warned operatives of the command against extortion and random searching of phones of citizens. She said, Betsy, who is the 49th Commissioner of the Police in the state, gave directives when she resumed at the police headquarters, Benin City, the state capital, on Monday. She said the directives against extortion and searching of phones is from the Inspector General of Police, Kayode, noting that such can only be done if it is necessary in the course of an investigation. The police commissioner, who began her career in Bauchi State in 1992 and has served in various capacities at commands across the country, said she would also check gender-based violence against women and children. Now, the Kaduna State Governor Uba Sani has explained the reason behind the state government's decision to negotiate with bandits, saying it is better than losing lives. According to the governor, only the victims' families will understand and appreciate why the government made such a drastic decision. The governor, who stated this in an interview with Media House, said he met with critical stakeholders, including the National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu, before finally deciding to initiate the peace deal. Governor Sani explained further that the decision came after the bandit released 200 persons adopted in Jiwa and Birni-Gwari local government areas of the state, expressing optimism that the deal would restore peace in the state and enable farmers to return to their farms and businesses to bounce back. Now, the 2023 presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party in Nigeria, Atiku Abubakar, has said politicians should be made to lose the seats for defecting to other political parties. Atiku made the recommendation as part of necessary reforms to protect democracy in the country. the former vice president who spoke at the national conference on strengthening democracy, lamented the challenges facing Nigeria's democracy. He warned that democracy is at risk of decline due to weak institutions, state capture, and judicial recklessness. This was as he called for comprehensive reforms in 5 key areas, one of which is the strengthening of political parties. He also called for normative compliance, saying it would ensure that party members, especially leaders, adhere to party rules and laws to uphold democratic integrity. The Nigerian Customs Service Seme Area Command decorated 135 newly promoted men and officers of the command. Speaking shortly after the ceremony held at the ECOWAS Joint Border Command Post in Seme Creek, Kayode Kolade, the command area controller, charged the newly promoted officers to continue striving for excellence. According to him, the promotion is a statement of hard work, dedication, and commitment to excellence of the officers. Overall, Kolade said 89 senior officers got promoted in the command, while 46 officers were promoted in the junior ranks. Speaking on behalf of the newly promoted officers, Abdullahi Hussaini, Public Relations Officer, Seme Command, thanks the Controller General of the Customs, Adewale. Now let's go on a quick break, and when we return, newspaper and press review continues. So stay tuned.
For deeper analysis on security situation in Nigeria and beyond, watch Third Eye Africa TV.
Welcome back, and today we have in the studio Mr. Ben Shamang. Welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me.
And on Leadership newspaper, in page 7, you'll see we have 160 billion naira USSD debt. 5 banks rush to meet disconnections deadline. Kaduna Governor defends negotiations with bandits. You'll find that in page 4 of the Leadership newspaper. Well, Atiku Obi disagree over coalition against Tinubu. You find that in page 3 of the Nation newspaper. EU urges ECOWAS to reopen talks with Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. That's you will find in page 5 of the Nation's newspaper. Now, Kano Court, police clash over arrest of anti-graft chair. You find that in page 6 of the Nation. And on the Punch newspaper, you see gospel singer pleads not guilty for killing Nasarawa copper. In page 5, you find that in page 5 of the Punch newspaper. Now, PDP crisis uncertainty as NWC members shun Southeast meeting. Well, Mr. Ben, we can see that in Kaduna State, insecurity is on the rise. And I can say, if you agree with me, that would say we understand where the governor is coming from in terms of the peace deal he's trying to make in Kaduna State. But for the families of the adopted victims, they'll feel okay and they'll be happy with the situation. Yeah, because we cannot understand how they feel because their victims are away from their families are away from them and all. But don't you think this will worsen insecurity in the state? I mean, in terms of other groups now coming, since they now know that there's opportunity for them to gain more money and getting more money from the governor, since the governor is ready to pay for the ransom and to release all of them from detention, from their captive.
Yeah, you see, I think there's no big price, no small price to ensure that there is liberty. Liberty is great. When you are free, you are free. And I tend to share the governor's feeling when he says the families of victims and the victims will always know how it hurts. I speak with you here, Joy, I would have been kidnapped. I speak with you here, Joy, my younger brother was kidnapped. I speak with you here, Joy, my other younger brother was kidnapped. I speak with you here, Joy. My sister, younger sister, was kidnapped.
Wow. All in
And
Kaduna State.
I am from Kaduna State. I speak with you now, Joy. Lantana from Kaura is being held. This is close to 10 days now. These people will collect ransom and they are not releasing the victim. And so sometimes you just wonder and you feel abandoned. We've also had instances where these victims, when finally are released, you don't find state apparatus around them. The Director of State Security Service, the police, the local government authority, the state government, all coming to see how do we manage these people psychologically, having been taken away from their abodes and taken to where they never knew, where they never expected. The trauma, nobody manages to help them manage it so that they forget about that kind of a thing. Now, if the governor feels that there has to be some, let's talk, abandon this. Let's have you train for some jobs. Let's have you train so that there is security in the place. I don't think there's anything bad in that. Before now, you had El-Rufai who would rather feel that if you paid ransom, you are guilty. If you kidnap, you are guilty. You receive ransom, you are guilty. You know. But what did he do to set the state free from captivity? Because at the initial stage of being a governor, he actually said it was good to pay some kind of, to set people free, you know. But when the chips were down again, he changed his stance. So what went wrong? So I think that if we need a handshake to ensure that there is peace, so be it. So if you used the carrot and stick approach and it didn't work, you've used the guns, you used the kinetic approach, it's not working.
But then,
so why don't we just do it via a handshake?
But then we have other state governors that said they are not going to negotiate with bandits and terrorists. Do you think, or do you suggest that they do not care for their citizens?
Yeah, it's not really that they don't care about their citizens, because you see, it's always impoverishing families. When you gather, you sell houses, you sell what you have to give some people who are just not helping society. So if those states say they will not negotiate, they probably know that in their own case, the kinetic approach will work. But tell me the war that has not ended at the negotiation table. Look at Israel, look at Hamas, you just realize that in the end, you just go back to negotiate. And that's why you have ECOWAS, that's why you have regional bodies like ECOWAS, COMESA, Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa. You have SADC, Southern Africa Development Commission. You have European Union, EU. You have the Arab League. These are regional bodies. All in. Then you have Continental, the African Union. Then you move on to EU. Then you move up to the greatest of them all, the United Nations. So all of these people will always, or agencies or organizations, will always be talking of negotiations. And where you begin to use force, that's the stick itself, the kinetic. If it doesn't work, all the same, you go back to the non-kinetic. You negotiate.
Okay, but then we back then the international bodies donated jets to fight insecurity in the country, and we barely heard our efforts going out for missions and tackling most of this insecurity. But most of the times we hear news of them going for a mission and then killing the wrong people. What can you say about that? Do you think they don't know where they hide, their hideout, or they just target innocent lives so that the media will cover that they went to cover a mission and then no stories about the terrorists being involved.
On the side of the military. Yes, once in a while you could have some collateral damage on missions. They are also very, very careful. Once upon a time, you could hear people saying, look, we keep on hearing you've killed 50, you've killed 100, we've killed 30. Where are the dead bodies? When you look at the broadcasting code, the NBC, I mean, corpses are not supposed to be exhibited
Yes,
here and there.
it shouldn't.
So it doesn't show professionalism on the side of broadcasting. So if the soldiers simply say, okay, we've done this, and that's why at the point they have what they call embedded correspondence. I used to be one where the military will give me some of their uniforms. I will wear, I follow them, we go to trenches, we see what they are doing, and we report these things. So it's not as if the military will deliberately go and target civilians and fire a soldier, mistaking him for an enemy. And so it happens. They call them mistakes in those operations. So I think that we should still give the military the chance to breathe, the chance to walk, the chance to defend us, because these are people who are awake, so that we, the civilians, can sleep very well and dream. But they have surrendered their rights. Their families are, some are in Lagos, some are in Akwa Ibom, some are in Sokoto, in Makodi. But you see them in the trenches. Come rain, come shine, so that we move on. So I think that it's still kudos to them. Will not be too judgmental on them.
So before, yeah, we would hear stories of how Kaduna was used to be a dangerous zone, and most people get scared when in terms of traveling, because sometimes on the road every day you hear stories of kidnap, killings and all of that on the road. But since Uba Sani became the governor of Kaduna State, a lot has changed. Those kidnaps and I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It does, but not as before. Do you think he's actually working really hard to curb the insecurity in Kaduna State?
Yeah, you see, he is the chief security officer of Kaduna State. But when you look at the way security works, it's actually in the hands of those in charge of the hardware. If there are complaints anywhere, all he does is to put a phone call to some authorities, and there are reactions. And that's why the military will always be there. Before now, Abuja, Kaduna, Zaria, Kano, that highway was rather almost impassable, if you remember, because of cases of kidnapping, banditry here and there. Recall Birningwari, where these people even hinder, these bandits hinder the people from going to farm, or if you must farm, you have to pay some royalties. And when you do pay and you go to the farm, you want to harvest, they begin to tell you, we've been protecting this farm for you, so again you pay. And in some cases they will say, okay, now that you have harvested, we have a right to buy or not to buy. So they still, so all of this is becoming a kind of change, because we used to have a GOC there, Taurid Labaja. He was always going to the trenches. Look at the Gabi areas and many other areas, southern Kaduna. So you could see that with the joint having, self-haven rather,
yes.
you could see that they've been doing quite a lot of job. From Rukuba, they move in here, southern Kaduna, they join hands with the GOC operations there in Kaduna, the division there, and they get things done. So all that Uba Sani needs to do is to also assist in terms of logistics, some vehicles, some petrol, some welfare packages, so that the military will do the job they ought to do.
Okay, nice. Okay, well, moving over from that, we have it's no news that the gospel singer, that the news that has been trending about the gospel singer that killed his girlfriend in Nasarawa State, a copper. Well, yesterday in court, he pleaded not guilty. It's actually a very sensitive issue because just when he confessed to the crime and then in court, he is saying he's pleading not guilty. What can you say about that?
Yeah, you see, no matter how, first of all, may her soul rest in peace.
Amen.
And you see, the court system is such that even if, look, you're holding a sword, you remove or you beheaded somebody, see the torso, they see everything as it was demonstrated. Even if you say I'm guilty, the court will still try you till they establish that. You cannot say, okay, I'm guilty, and for that reason, they now say, okay, go, you are hereby sentenced to death. It doesn't happen. Trial must take its due process, so that in the end, nobody wakes up to say, oh, there was no free trial. This trial was shrouded in some anomalies, and so it has to take, I mean, his lawyers must have told him, you have to still plead not guilty, so that they begin to explore some loopholes of the law. Now, if the law says if you kill, you have to be killed, and at the point maybe they now look at some loopholes, they now say, oh, there was provocation, there was the case of this. They begin to reduce to some life imprisonment, and so that maybe with time, someone wakes up one day and say, okay, can we begin to have some parole? Can we begin to forgive some people? And again, the name appears a kind of. So if you just simply say, I'm guilty, so take me, hang me, or take me, shoot me, it doesn't work that way. So there has to be trial, there has to be prosecution, evidence must be brought, and so that on conviction, there's going to be justice for the victim who has died.
Yes.
Justice for the relation who are feeling aggrieved. Justice for society who must feel that, look, all bad acts must be removed from them so that they can move freely. Then there has to be victim justice for the accused himself, who, whatever the law says, is followed. So that is just what has to be followed.
So if you watch most of his interviews, you'll see he acts strange. He doesn't act like someone that is mentally stable. Do you think that is an act, or he's just mentally deranged, or he's just trying to make it look like he's not okay so that they won't sentence him to death penalty, giving the death penalty?
Yeah, you see, without sometimes when cases of this nature are in court, the law requires that even in discussing it, one does not talk in such a way that it influences the judge. So for now, whatever prosecutions will come out with, and even what you call, if there's the need to also do a psychiatric test as to who he is, his form, then and now, and you now look at past records, what has he been doing all this while? He's been a gospel singer. Were there times he would sing and derail? Were there times he would go on rehearsal and jump some paragraphs? Were there times he would kind of show elements of incoherency in his speech, in his conduct? Were there times he would take some erratic decisions, erratic moves that will indicate that, look, something is wrong ab initio, So outside that, we begin to also look at even his phone, because the law will require that they go into his text messages. If he was there an intention, I mean, there's always when it comes to murder, there's what you call the planning stage, the movement stage. Then you arm yourself, then you commit the act, So actors' roles, they all will have to be proved without any reasonable doubt that you planned, you perceived, you planned, you moved, you armed yourself, then went to the victim and carried the act. That these are ingredients when it comes to murder. But when you just, it's different from you're running, you just turn around a corner and you hit somebody, the person falls and dies.
Yes.
You see, that one is not murder. You kill without an intention to
But
kill.
this one, he was seen with the head.
So I mean,
Of the victim.
but all the same, the law has